The boy couldn't have been more than 7. He stood in the doorway of the abandoned line shack, barefoot, his trousers torn at the knee, his shirt 3 sizes too large and stiff with old dirt. His hair hung in his eyes, dark, matted, the kind of neglect that spoke louder than hunger. Cole Brennan had been riding fence line for the better part of the morning when he spotted smoke curling thin from the shack's chimney. Nobody had used that place in 2 years, not since the winter of '71 when the roof caved in on the north side. He'd meant to burn it down, but never got around to it. Now someone was living in it. Cole dismounted slow, keeping his hands visible, his rifle still in its sheath. The boy didn't move, didn't run, just stood there in the doorway, watching with eyes too old for his face. "Easy now," Cole said, his voice low and steady. "I'm not here to hurt you." The boy didn't answer. Cole took another step. The air smelled wrong, damp wool, unwashed skin, something sour underneath. He stopped 10 feet from the door. "You got a name, son." The boy's lips pressed together. His small hands gripped the doorframe so tight his knuckles went white. "My name's Cole. I own this land. This shack, it's mine." He paused, softened his tone. "You're not in trouble. I just want to know if you're all right." Still nothing. Cole glanced past him into the dark interior. A small fire burned in the stone hearth, barely enough to warm a rabbit. There were blankets piled in the corner, a rusted pot beside the flames, and something else, something that made Cole's gut tighten. A chain. It was bolted to the floor near the back wall, half hidden in shadow. The iron links trailed across the dirt floor and disappeared behind a rotted support beam. Cole's throat went dry. "Son," he said carefully, "is there someone else in there with you?" The boy's expression didn't change, but his eyes flickered, just once, toward the inside of the shack. Cole's hand moved instinctively toward his belt, not for his gun, but for the knife he kept there. He didn't know what he was walking into, but every instinct in his body screamed that it was wrong. "I'm coming in," Cole said, slow, just to see if everyone's all right. The boy stepped aside. Cole crossed the threshold, his boots scraping against the uneven floorboards. The inside was worse than he'd imagined. The roof sagged dangerously, letting in thin streams of light that cut through the dust. The fire popped softly. The air was close, stale, suffocating. And then he saw her. She was sitting against the back wall, her wrists shackled to the chain. A woman, no, a girl, maybe 19, 20 at most. Her dress was torn at the shoulder, filthy, clinging to her like a second skin of grime and sweat. Her hair hung loose and tangled around her face. She didn't look up when Cole entered. She didn't move at all. "Jesus," Cole whispered. The boy stepped in behind him, quiet as a shadow. Cole's heart hammered in his chest. He'd seen cruelty before, seen men do terrible things to each other during the war, seen women beaten, children abandoned. But this was something else. This was deliberate, calculated. "Who did this?" Cole asked, his voice tight. The boy didn't answer. Cole crouched down slowly, his eyes on the woman. "Ma'am," he said gently, "can you hear me?" She stirred just barely. Her head lifted an inch, and Cole saw her face for the first time. She was hollow, sunken cheeks, cracked lips, eyes that looked past him instead of at him. But there was something else, something that made Cole's breath catch. A scar, a thin white line running from her temple to her jaw, faint but unmistakable. Cole's mind stuttered. He knew that scar. "Ma'am," he said again, quieter now, "what's your name?" Her lips moved, but no sound came out. The boy stepped forward then, close enough that Cole could smell the dirt on him. He looked down at the woman with an expression that was too tender, too protective for a child. "Meet my mama," the boy murmured. Cole's chest tightened. The woman's eyes shifted, finally focusing on Cole. For a moment, something flickered there, recognition, maybe, or just the faintest spark of awareness. Then it was gone, swallowed back into the hollow. Cole's hands clenched into fists. He didn't know who'd done this, didn't know how long they'd been here, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty. He wasn't leaving them here. I'm going to get you out, Cole said, his voice rough. Both of you. The boy's hand shot out, grabbing Cole's wrist with surprising strength. No, he whispered, he'll come back. Cole froze. Who'll come back? The boy's eyes filled with tears, but he didn't let them fall. He always comes back. Cole looked at the woman again, at the chain, the bruises on her arms, the way she sat so still, like moving would shatter her. And then he looked at the boy, at the fear carved into every line of his small face. Not this time, Cole said. He pulled his knife from his belt and moved toward the chain. The boy didn't let go of his wrist. You don't understand, he said, his voice breaking. You can't stop him. Cole met his eyes. Watch me. He knelt beside the woman, examining the shackles. They were old, rusted, but still strong. The lock was crude, the kind you could pick with the right tool or break with enough force. What's your mama's name? Cole asked, his voice soft. The boy hesitated. Anna. Cole's heart stopped. Anna. The name hit him like a fist to the gut. He looked at the woman again, at the scar, the shape of her face, the way her eyes had flickered when she'd looked at him. It couldn't be. But it was. Anna Cartwright, Cole breathed. The boy's eyes widened. You know her. Cole didn't answer. He couldn't. His mind was spinning, racing back through the years, back to a day he'd spent a decade trying to forget. Anna Cartwright, the daughter of Samuel Cartwright, the man who'd owned the land just north of Cole's father's ranch. The girl Cole had known when they were both young, before the war, before everything went to hell. The girl whose family had been burned out by Union soldiers in the summer of '63. Cole had been there that day, 16 years old, hiding in the trees, watching as the soldiers torched the Cartwright farm. He'd wanted to help. God, he'd wanted to, but his father had held him back, told him it wasn't their fight, told him the Cartwrights had been marked as traitors and there was nothing they could do. Cole had watched Anna's father die in the flames. And he'd done nothing. Now, 12 years later, she was sitting in front of him, chained to the floor of his own shack. Anna, Cole said, his voice cracking, it's me, it's Cole Brennan. She didn't respond. The boy stared at him, confused, frightened. Cole swallowed hard and forced himself to focus. I'm getting her out, he said, both of you right now. He gripped the chain and pulled, testing its strength. The bolt in the floor held firm. Damn it, Cole muttered. He looked around the shack, searching for something, anything, he could use. His eyes landed on the iron poker beside the fire. It would have to do. Cole grabbed it, wedged it beneath the bolt, and pulled with everything he had. The wood creaked, groaned, and finally splintered. The bolt came free with a sharp crack. Anna flinched at the sound, but she didn't move. Cole unwrapped the chain from her wrists as gently as he could. Her skin was raw beneath the iron, red and blistered. It's all right, Cole said softly. You're safe now. She didn't look at him. The boy knelt beside her, his small hand resting on her arm. Mama, he whispered, we're leaving. Anna's lips moved again, and this time Cole heard it, a single word barely audible. No. Cole didn't move. Anna, he said, his voice steady but firm, you can't stay here. She shook her head slow, like the effort cost her everything. He'll find us. Not if I have anything to say about it. Her eyes lifted then, meeting his for the first time. There was something there, something sharp beneath the exhaustion. You don't know him. Then tell me. She looked away. The boy shifted beside her, his hand still on her arm. His name's Dalton, he said quietly. He's the sheriff. Cole's blood turned to ice. Sheriff Dalton. The name landed like a stone in his chest. He knew Dalton. Everyone in the county knew Dalton. The man had been appointed sheriff 3 years ago, after the last one died under suspicious circumstances. Dalton was a war veteran, a Union man, and he wore his authority like a weapon. Cole had never trusted him. Dalton did this? Cole asked, his voice low and dangerous. The boy nodded. Anna's head dropped again, her shoulders sagging. He said I owed him. Owed him what? My father's land. Her voice was barely a whisper. He said my father was a traitor, said the land was forfeit, said I was payment. Cole's jaw clenched, so hard his teeth ached. He bought me, Anna continued, her words hollow. After the fire, after everything, he found me in Dodge, told the auctioneer I was unclaimed property. She let out a bitter, broken laugh. 4 years after the war ended, and they were still selling people. Cole's hands shook. He forced them still. He brought me here, Anna said, kept me here, said if I ran, he'd find me, said if I told anyone, he'd kill my boy. The boy's face crumpled, but he didn't cry. Cole looked at him, really looked at him, and saw it then. The resemblance, the dark hair, the sharp jaw, the eyes that didn't match Anna's at all. They matched Dalton's. Cole's stomach turned. How long? He asked. 6 years, Anna said. 6 years, 6 years of this. 6 years of chains and silence and fear. Cole stood, his legs unsteady. He walked to the door, stared out at the open land, at the sky stretching wide and empty above the valley. He'd ridden past this shack a dozen times, 100 times maybe, and he'd never known. Never looked. I was there, Cole said, his voice thick, the day they burned your farm. Anna went still. I was 16, Cole continued. My father and I were riding back from town. We saw the smoke. We rode up to the ridge and we saw them, the soldiers, your father, the flames. He turned back to face her, and the words came out raw, jagged. I wanted to help. God, I wanted to, but my father stopped me, said it was too dangerous, said the cartwrights were marked, and if we interfered, we'd be next. Anna's eyes filled with something, anger, maybe, or just exhaustion too deep to name. I watched your father die, Cole said, and I did nothing. The silence stretched long and heavy. Why are you telling me this? Anna asked finally. Because I should have helped you then, Cole said, and I didn't, but I'm helping you now. You think that makes it better? No, Cole shook his head. I don't. Anna looked at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she looked at her son, at the boy who'd been born into this nightmare, who'd known nothing but fear and chains, and a mother who couldn't protect him. He'll kill you, Anna said quietly. If you take us, he'll kill all of us. Maybe, Cole said, but I'm not leaving you here. You don't understand. I understand plenty, Cole's voice hardened. I understand that Dalton's been hiding behind a badge while he does this. I understand that nobody's stopped him because nobody's looked. And I understand that if I walk away now, I'm no better than I was 12 years ago. Anna's jaw trembled. You can't save us. I can try. The boy stood then, his small frame rigid. If you take us, he said, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes, he'll come after you, he'll bring his men, he'll. Let him, Cole said. The boy stared at him, wide-eyed. Cole crouched down, meeting the boy's gaze. What's your name, son? Samuel, the boy whispered, after my grandfather. Cole's chest tightened. Samuel, he said gently, your grandfather was a good man, a brave man, and I think you're just like him. Samuel's lip quivered, but he held Cole's gaze. I'm not going to let anything happen to you, Cole said, or your mama, I promise. Everybody says that, Samuel whispered. Cole nodded slowly. I know, but I mean it. He stood, looked at Anna. Can you walk? She hesitated, then nodded. All right, Cole said. We are leaving now. He helped Anna to her feet, her legs shaking beneath her. Samuel moved to her side, his small hand gripping hers. Cole led them out of the shack, into the open air. The sun was high now, bright and merciless. Anna squinted against the light, swaying slightly. Cole whistled, and his horse trotted over. We'll go to my ranch, Cole said. It's 3 miles south. We'll figure out the rest from there. Anna looked at him, her eyes searching his face. Why are you doing this? Cole met her gaze, because I should have done it a long time ago. She didn't respond, but something in her expression softened just slightly. Cole helped her onto the horse, then lifted Samuel up behind her. He took the reins and started walking, leading them south across the valley. Behind them, the shack stood silent and empty, the chains still coiled on the floor. And somewhere, miles away, Sheriff Dalton would soon realize his prisoners were gone. They reached Cole's ranch by mid-afternoon. It wasn't much, a small house, a barn, a few corrals, but it was solid. Cole had built most of it himself after the war, working alone, trying to carve something decent out of the wreckage the world had left behind. He settled Anna and Samuel in the house, gave them water, bread, blankets. Anna drank slowly, her hands shaking. Samuel stayed close to her, watching Cole with wary eyes. "Rest," Cole said. "I'll keep watch." Anna nodded, too exhausted to argue. Cole stepped outside, his rifle in hand. The valley stretched quiet around him, the wind stirring the grass. Everything looked peaceful. But Cole knew better. He'd lived through the war. He knew how quickly peace could shatter. He didn't have to wait long. The riders came just before dusk. Cole saw the dust first, a cloud rising from the north, moving fast. He counted 5 horses, maybe 6. He stepped into the open, rifle held loose but ready. The riders slowed as they approached, spreading out in a loose line. At the center was a man Cole recognized immediately. Sheriff Dalton. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his face weathered and hard. He wore his badge pinned to his vest, his gun belt slung low. His eyes were cold, calculating, the kind of eyes that didn't blink. Behind him were 4 men, deputies probably, or just hired guns. It didn't matter. They were here for Anna. Dalton reined in his horse 20 feet from Cole. He smiled, slow and humorless. "Afternoon, Brennan," Dalton said. "Dalton, heard you found something that belongs to me." Cole's grip tightened on the rifle. "I didn't find anything that belongs to you." Dalton's smile widened. "Ed, see, that's where you're wrong. The woman and the boy, they're mine, bought and paid for. Slavery ended in 65, Dalton. You know that." "This isn't about slavery." Dalton's voice was calm, almost pleasant. "This is about debts. Anna Cartwright's father owed the Union. He was a traitor. His land, his property, it all became government assets. I bought those assets legally. You chained a woman to a floor. I secured my property," Dalton said evenly. "She had a habit of running." Cole's jaw clenched. "She's not property. The law says otherwise. The law doesn't say you can rape and torture people." Dalton's smile disappeared. His eyes went flat. "Careful, Brennan." "Or what?" "Or I'll arrest you for theft and harboring fugitives." Cole laughed, short and bitter. "You think anyone's going to believe that?" "I think I'm the sheriff," Dalton said, "and you're just a rancher. Who do you think they'll believe?" Cole didn't answer. One of the deputies shifted in his saddle, his hand drifting toward his gun. Cole's eyes flicked to him, then back to Dalton. "Here's how this is going to go," Dalton said. "You're going to bring Anna and the boy out here. I'm going to take them home. And you're going to forget this ever happened." "No." Dalton's expression didn't change. "No. No." The silence stretched long and heavy. Dalton leaned forward in his saddle, his voice dropping. "You know what I did during the war, Brennan?" Cole didn't answer. "I burned farms," Dalton said. "Traitor farms, Confederate sympathizers. I had orders and I followed them. You know whose farm I burned in the summer of 63. Cole's heart stopped. "Samuel Cartwright's," Dalton continued. "Burned it to ash, watched him die in the flames. It was my duty." Cole's blood roared in his ears. "And when I found his daughter years later," Dalton said, "I saw an opportunity, a way to finish what we started. She was unclaimed, unwanted, so I claimed her." "You're a goddamn monster," Cole said, his voice shaking. Dalton shrugged. I'm a soldier, same as you. I'm nothing like you. No, Dalton tilted his head. You fought in the war, didn't you? Killed men, burned towns. You think your hands are any cleaner than mine? Cole's finger hovered near the trigger. The difference between us, Dalton said, is that I don't pretend to be a hero. Behind Cole, the door to the house creaked open. Anna stepped out, Samuel behind her. No, Cole said sharply, get back inside. But Anna didn't move. She stood there, hollow-eyed, staring at Dalton. Dalton's smile returned. There she is. Anna, Cole started. It's all right, Anna said quietly. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. He's right. He'll just keep coming. He always does. No, Cole said. I'm not letting him take you. You can't stop him, Anna said. Nobody can. Dalton dismounted, his boots hitting the dirt with a heavy thud. He walked toward Anna, slow and deliberate. Cole raised his rifle. Don't. Dalton stopped. He looked at Cole, his expression unreadable. You going to shoot me, Brennan? If I have to. In front of the boy. Cole's hands trembled. Dalton took another step. And then, a voice rang out from behind the barn. Cole. Cole turned. Old Jack Mercer, one of Cole's ranch hands, stepped into view. Behind him were 3 more men, ranch hands, neighbors, men Cole had worked beside for years. They were armed. Dalton stopped, his eyes narrowing. Gid's horse came back alone, Jack said, his voice rough. We figured something was wrong. Cole's chest loosened, just slightly. Jack looked at Dalton, then at Cole. What's going on here, Cole? Dalton's trying to take Anna and the boy, Cole said. Jack's jaw tightened. That's so. Dalton's hand drifted toward his gun. This is none of your business, Mercer. Cole's business is my business, Jack said. He looked at the other men. Ain't that right, boys? They nodded. Dalton glanced at his deputies. They looked uneasy now, outnumbered. This isn't over, Dalton said, his voice low and dangerous. Yes, Cole said, it is. Dalton stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned, mounted his horse, and rode away, his men following. The dust settled slowly. Cole lowered his rifle, his hands still shaking. Jack walked over, clapped him on the shoulder. You all right? Cole nodded, though he wasn't sure it was true. Anna stood in the doorway, Samuel beside her, watching the riders disappear into the distance. He'll come back, she said quietly. Maybe, Cole said, but next time we'll be ready. The house was quiet that night. Cole sat at the table, a cup of coffee cooling in his hands. Anna sat across from him, Samuel asleep on a bedroll near the fire. The boy's breathing was soft, steady, the first real sleep he'd probably had in days. Anna stared into her own cup, her fingers wrapped around it like it was the only solid thing in the world. Thank you, she said finally. Cole shook his head. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. They sat in silence for a while. The fire crackled. Outside, the wind whispered through the valley. I thought you were dead, Cole said quietly. Anna looked up. After the fire, Cole continued. After your father, I heard you'd run, heard you'd gone east maybe. I didn't know, he trailed off, his throat tight. I tried to run, Anna said. I made it as far as Dodge. Then Dalton found me. Cole's hands clenched around the cup. He told me I was lucky, Anna said, her voice flat. Said most women in my position didn't survive. Said he was giving me a home. A home, Cole repeated bitterly. He called it that, Anna looked down. At first, I believed him. I thought, maybe this was just how things were now. Maybe this was all I deserved. You didn't deserve any of it. Anna's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. I had Samuel, that's all that mattered. I told myself if I could just keep him safe, if I could just protect him, then it would be worth it. You did protect him, Cole said gently. You kept him alive. I kept him chained in a shack, Anna said, her voice breaking. I kept him hungry and scared and… You kept him breathing, Cole said firmly. In a world that wanted to bury you both, you kept him breathing. That's not nothing. Anna's tears spilled over then, silent and slow. She wiped them away with the back of her hand, her shoulders shaking. Cole reached across the table, hesitated, then placed his hand over hers. I'm sorry, he said, for that day, for not stopping them, for not finding you sooner. Anna looked at him, her eyes red and raw. You were 16. I was old enough to do something. You were a boy. So were the soldiers who burned your farm. Anna pulled her hand back, wrapped her arms around herself. I don't blame you, Cole. Maybe you should. Why? Anna's voice was tired. What good would it do? Cole didn't have an answer. They sat in silence again, the fire burning low. What happens now? Anna asked. I don't know, Cole admitted. Dalton's not going to let this go. He'll come back, and next time he'll bring more men. Then we run. Where? Anna didn't answer. There's nowhere to run, Cole said, not as long as he's wearing that badge. Then what do we do? Cole looked at her, at the exhaustion carved into every line of her face, at the fear she couldn't quite hide. We fight, he said. Anna laughed, bitter and broken. With what? You and a handful of ranch hands against the sheriff. If that's what it takes. You'll die. Maybe, Cole said, but some things are worth dying for. Anna stared at him, her expression unreadable. You sound like my father. Cole's chest tightened. He used to say that, Anna continued. Before the war, he used to say there were some things you couldn't compromise on, some lines you couldn't cross. She looked away. He died for that belief. And you're still alive because of it, Cole said. Anna's jaw trembled. I'm not sure that's better. Cole leaned forward, his voice low and steady. Your father was right. There are some things you can't compromise on, and this, he gestured towards Samuel, still sleeping by the fire. This is one of them. Anna looked at her son, at the small boy who'd known nothing but cruelty and fear. He deserves better, Cole said. You both do. Anna's tears fell again, quiet and endless. Cole stood, walked to the fire, and crouched beside Samuel. The boy's face was peaceful in sleep, his small hand curled near his cheek. He looks like you, Cole said. Anna's breath hitched. He has Dalton's eyes. He has your heart. Anna stood, walked over, and knelt beside her son. She brushed the hair from his forehead, her touch gentle. I don't know how to be his mother anymore, she whispered. I don't know how to be anything but afraid. You'll figure it out, Cole said, one day at a time. Anna looked at him, her eyes searching his face. Why are you doing this, really? Cole met her gaze. Because I couldn't live with myself if I didn't. Anna nodded slowly. She reached out, her hand trembling, and placed it on Cole's arm. Thank you, she said again. This time, Cole didn't argue. They sat there by the fire, the three of them, as the night stretched long and quiet around them. And for the first time in 6 years, Anna let herself believe, just for a moment, that maybe, just maybe, things could be different. So let me ask you this. If you were Cole, would you have opened that door to the shack? Would you have risked everything for someone you failed once before? Think about that. And if you're still with me, tap subscribe so you don't miss how this ends. Tell me in the comments what time it is where you're listening from. Cole didn't sleep that night. He sat on the porch, rifle across his knees, watching the valley. The stars wheeled overhead, cold and distant. The wind whispered through the grass like a warning. He knew Dalton would come back. Men like Dalton always came back. The question was when. The answer came 2 days later. Cole was in the barn when he heard the hoofbeats. He grabbed his rifle, stepped into the yard, and saw them. A dozen riders this time, maybe more. Dalton at the front, his face hard and set. But they weren't alone. Behind Cole, the barn door opened. Jack Mercer stepped out, rifle in hand, then two more ranch hands, then neighbors, Tom Whitfield from the next property over, old Henry Clark, even the widow Patterson, her husband's shotgun cradled in her arms. They stood in a loose line, silent and armed. Dalton reined in his horse. He looked at Cole, then at the others. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "You're making a mistake, Brennan," Dalton said. "Maybe," Cole said, "but it's mine to make." Jack stepped forward. "Cole, I branded calves with you 20 years ago. If you say this woman and her boy deserve protecting, that's good enough for me." Tom Whitfield nodded. "Same." Henry Clark spat into the dirt. "I don't care what badge you're wearing, Dalton. You can't do this and call it law." Dalton's jaw clenched. "You're all interfering with official business." "Official business," Henry repeated, his voice dripping with contempt. "That what you call chaining a woman in a shack." Dalton's hand drifted toward his gun. "Don't," Cole said quietly. Dalton froze. "You're outnumbered," Cole continued, "and even if you win, you'll lose half your men doing it. Is she worth that?" Dalton stared at him, his eyes burning. "She's not property," Cole said. "She's a person, and you don't get to own people anymore, not even with a badge." The silence stretched long and heavy. Then, from the house, Anna stepped out. Samuel was beside her, holding her hand. Dalton's eyes locked on her. "Anna." She didn't answer. "You know you can't run from me," Dalton said. "You know I'll find you." Anna took a breath, her voice steady. "Then find me, but I'm not going back." Dalton's expression darkened. "You think these people will protect you? You think they'll care once this is over?" "I think they're better than you," Anna said. Dalton's face twisted with rage. He started to dismount. And then a shot rang out. Not from Cole, not from Jack. From the ridge behind the house. Everyone froze. A voice called out, rough and authoritative, "Sheriff Dalton." Cole turned. A man stood on the ridge, rifle in hand. He wore a federal marshal's badge. "Marshal Hayes," Cole breathed. Hayes descended the ridge slowly, his rifle still raised. "Got a report about a woman being held against her will. Came to investigate." Dalton's face went pale. "This is county business." "Federal law trumps county law," Hayes said. He reached Cole's side, his eyes never leaving Dalton. "And holding a woman in chains, that's federal." Dalton's hand twitched toward his gun. "Don't," Hayes said calmly. "You're already in enough trouble." Dalton looked at his men. They looked back, uncertain. "You're under arrest," Hayes said, "for unlawful imprisonment, abuse of authority, and about a dozen other charges I'll think of on the way to the federal courthouse." Dalton's jaw clenched. "You can't." "I can," Hayes said, "and I will." He gestured to two of his deputies, who'd appeared from the tree line. They moved forward, disarming Dalton's men one by one. Dalton didn't resist. He just stared at Anna, his eyes burning with something dark and ugly. "This isn't over," he said. "Yes," Anna said quietly, "it is." Hayes cuffed Dalton and led him away. The valley fell silent. It took weeks for the dust to settle. Hayes stayed in town long enough to ensure Dalton was transporting to the federal courthouse in Kansas City. The trial lasted 3 months. Dalton was convicted on all charges and sentenced to 20 years in a federal prison. The news reached Cole on a cold morning in late autumn. He read the letter twice, then walked out to the field where Anna was planting seed. Samuel was beside her, his small hands covered in dirt, his face bright and unguarded in a way Cole had never seen before. "It's over," Cole said. Anna looked up, shading her eyes against the sun. "Over." Cole handed her the letter. She read it slowly, her lips moving. When she finished, she looked at Cole, her eyes shining. 20 years, she whispered. 20 years, Cole confirmed. Anna's knees buckled. Cole caught her, held her steady. "It's over," he said again. Anna clung to him, her body shaking with sobs, deep, wrenching sobs that had been buried for 6 years. Samuel ran over, his face frightened. "Mama." Anna pulled him close, holding him tight. "It's all right," she whispered. "We're all right." Samuel looked at Cole, confused. Cole smiled. "Your mama's just happy, son." Samuel didn't understand, but he nodded. They stayed on Cole's ranch. Anna and Samuel lived in the small house, and Cole moved into the foreman's quarters in the barn. It wasn't charity. Anna worked, mending clothes, planting crops, cooking meals. Samuel helped with the animals, learning to ride, to rope, to brand. Slowly, carefully, they built something new. Not a family, exactly, not yet, but something close. On winter evenings, they sat by the fire, and Anna would tell Samuel stories about his grandfather, about the man Samuel Cartwright had been before the war. And sometimes, when Samuel was asleep, Anna and Cole would sit in silence, just the two of them, and the ghosts of the past would feel a little less heavy. Years later, Samuel would ask about that day in the shack. "Why did you help us?" he'd ask Cole. And Cole would look at him, at the young man he'd become, strong and steady and kind, and he'd say, "Because your grandfather taught me that some things are worth standing for, and your mama reminded me." Samuel would nod, understanding more than he could put into words. Cole never forgot the day he opened the door to that shack, never forgot the sight of Anna chained to the floor or the sound of Samuel's small voice saying, "Meet my mama." He'd carry it with him for the rest of his life, the weight of it, the cost of it, the grace of it. But he'd also carry the memory of Anna's first real smile, months later, when Samuel caught his first fish in the creek. He'd carry the sound of Samuel's laughter, free and unguarded, echoing across the valley. He'd carry the quiet evenings, the shared meals, the slow, steady healing. And he'd know, without a doubt, that he'd made the right choice. Some things were worth standing for. Some people were worth saving. And sometimes, redemption didn't come from erasing the past. It came from finally doing what should have been done all along. The sun dipped low over the valley, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Dust rose around their feet as they walked back to the house, Anna, Samuel, and Cole, side by side. The ghosts of that day would follow them, always. But so would the light.